Everyone, Jim Biringer here, NHLRumors.com. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below. What a day in the National Hockey League. Blockbuster deals dropping left and right. A lot of people talking about what could happen. Elliot Friedman started it off Friday morning, said it could be a big day. I texted the owner of the site, guy I work for, Mark Eason, after the Tristan Jarry deal went down. And I said, Quinn Hughes could possibly happen today. And sure enough, around 7 o'clock, boom, the hockey world, the blockbuster deal shakes the hockey world. And we're going to start right there. Quinn Hughes, a lot of speculation about what was going on with Quinn Hughes, a lot of rat poison, a lot of noise. And he handled it like a consummate professional. Pat Brisson, his agent, came out tonight after the trade and said he's glad the saga is over. He's glad that Quinn Hughes can focus on playing hockey because there was too much noise and a distraction. Now, Jim Rutherford clarified some comments. He said he felt instead of knowing and heard from Quinn that about a year and a half ago that he wasn't going to sign. That's why he made the comments about, well, he could go play with his brothers or his brothers could come here. I think they were trying to do everything possible to sign him in Vancouver, but it got out. And, once the memo went out to the teams that they were looking to change and looking for a mix, everybody started calling on Quinn Hughes. Once the chatter got out about Quinn Hughes, then things started to percolate even quicker. And here we are, less than a week after Elliot Friedman reported on Saturday headlines that the Devils had called. Minnesota Wild checked in last week. They made an offer that nobody could pass by, despite reports from Elliot Friedman, despite reports from Pierre LeBrun, and others saying the Devils made a strong offer. The Devils didn't make a strong offer. I have two sources confirmation saying that the package didn't even come close to Minnesota. Jim Rutherford saying the same thing. That's why they made the deal. And Quinn Hughes doesn't have trade protection. Despite his desires to go east, despite his desires to potentially go play with his brothers, Minnesota controlled and gave the Canucks what they wanted. They gave him a young center, Marco Rossi, whom the Canucks wanted since the summer. They gave them Zeev Buium, a suitable replacement for Quinn Hughes on the left side, a very, very good prospect, a very, very good young defenseman that, has the ability to be Quinn Hughes, won't be Quinn Hughes, but can be in his level. Liam Ogren, solid depth player, and a first-round pick this year. And this is where the sticking point is, because if the offer was there, I think the Devils were afraid if they didn't make the playoffs, that pick wasn't protected. And I think the Canucks didn't want an unprotected first-round pick. That's the sticking point. I think the Devils offered Simon Nemec, Dawson Mercer, Anton Silyev, and or Seamus Casey to the Vancouver Canucks. And I don't think it was enough. I think the Capitals had better stuff on the table with Cole Hudson, McMichael, guys like that. Detroit could have gone with Marco Kasper, Nate Danielson, Edvinson, maybe Axel Sandy, Pelika. But some of these teams felt maybe that's not where they were. Minnesota's going all in to win. Bill Guerin wanted to go all in to win. You're going to have to give up something to get something. And now he has the ability to sign Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is going to be there for a little bit. There's nothing guaranteed that he's going to sign an extension, even as the agent talked about it. But Minnesota made the offer. They gave him the yes offer. And now he is a member of the Minnesota Wild and in that division. Mikhail Sergachev, Utah. But the top now, 3 defensemen in the league. Cale Makar in Colorado. Quinn Hughes now in Minnesota. Miro Heiskanen in Dallas, all playing the same division. But this saga had to come to an end. Vancouver brought this on themselves. They had no choice. Once the memo went out, teams called about him, Kiefer Sherwood, and everybody else. And Vancouver allowed New Jersey to make a deal, but they just couldn't match it. Nobody could. And that's a team that came out of nowhere. And look, good on Jim Rutherford for making a good hockey trade and getting good assets, because they were never going to win this trade unless they got what they wanted. Craig Buttons talked about this. Make a team make you say yes. They did that with this deal, because the centerpiece of the deal were the left shot defenseman and the center. And apparently from Jim Rutherford, the 2026 first round pick, because he likes this draft. So this is what they got. What a deal from the Minnesota Wild. What a deal for the Vancouver Canucks. Quinn Hughes is a member of the Minnesota Wild with Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy. Now you got the Gus Bus, Philip Gustafson, the Wall of St. Paul, and Jesper Wallstedt. The Minnesota Wild have a chance to resign Quinn Hughes. Everybody thinks he's going to go to New Jersey. Again, we all assumed. Everybody assumed. I didn't assume because I didn't think he was going to New Jersey. I'm being flat with you. I did not think he was going to New Jersey because they didn't have the assets. Dougie Hamilton couldn't move. Andre Palat couldn't move. Canucks didn't want those players. They wanted to get younger. Devils really don't have a lot of that right now because they think they can win. So Vancouver ends the day with a blockbuster. Started the morning off, Tristan Jarry going from the Pittsburgh Penguins along with Samuel Poulin. The Edmonton Oilers for Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak, and a second-round pick in 2029. The Oilers also get Spencer Stastny from the Nashville Predators for 2027, third-round pick. Now, Tristan Jarry, Stuart Skinner need to change the sceneries. I think everybody felt that the year that he signed that 5-year extension, he was gone. It's going, he's out the door, and then they re-signed him because I think Mike Sullivan liked him. If it was up to Kyle Dubas, then I don't think they were going to sign him. But they signed him, and now they moved him. Stuart Skinner, again, it probably candid moment. You probably tell everybody, hey, he probably didn't want to be there anymore. So they swapped those two guys to make the money work. Brett Kulak goes the other way as well. 2 pending UFAs go to Pittsburgh. Maybe Pittsburgh can flip Brett Kulak. Now, don't forget, the Edmonton Oilers aren't done. We saw this with the Colorado Avalanche last year. They flipped around goaltending within 2-week period. Maybe the Oilers are going to see what they get with Pickard and Tristan Jarry. If Pickard doesn't work out, I expect them to go after a goaltender, maybe Alex Lyon. They've been in on him, try to find another backup goaltender to get a good tandem, maybe add another depth defenseman because that's what they need to do. Stuart Skinner, great. He got him to back. And I think this is the risk and reward thing because Tristan Jarry doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Yeah, he was in that Game 7 against the Rangers, but the Penguins lost. They haven't won a playoff series. Stu Skinner was the guy got the Edmonton Oilers to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years. Yes, he was pulled on multiple occasions. Yes, they changed goalies a couple of times, but he was there. He played in the Western Conference final. He made the big saves against the Dallas Stars. They got him to the Stanley Cup final, goal away. We know what his playoff record is. It's a risk-reward, and you're adding term. You're adding dollars to a team that doesn't have a lot of cap space as it is, and not a lot of depth. And they've moved out a lot of depth over the last couple of years. So I expect the Oilers to make even more moves. Montreal's not going to make a goalie move. They bring up Jacob Fowler to let Samuel Montembeault and Jakub Dobeš rest and find their game. But again, if Fowler doesn't work out, then they go to the market. But it's going to be hard to do it. Yeah, again, Colorado did it, but they want Montembeault and Fowler to be the guys there. They have Fowler. They're going to try to add depth defensemen. They need a depth defenseman with all the injuries that they have. They got to find a depth NHL forward. They don't like Joe Veleno or Alex Texier. Things are just not working out. You see Owen Beck's been called up. Adam Enstrom's been called up. They've got all this talent, this young talent that's up there right now. They still want a second-line center. They're still connected to Ryan O'Reilly. New Jersey Devils are connected to Ryan O'Reilly, connected to Steven Stamkos. Stamkos turning back the clocks with 4 goals. Again, does New Jersey have the assets to make that kind of deal? And does Nashville, despite what Barry Trotz say, want to move on, take on another bad contract from the Devils? They already took on Eric Halla, but he's going to be a free agent. Do they take on Andre Palat or Dougie Hamilton or a player like that? Tom Fitzgerald has hands tied right now because he gave out too many no-move clauses and too many no-move trade clauses, and now he doesn't have a lot of assets to trade with. And that's the problem when you lose contract negotiations. That's the problem when you give players whatever they want. That's the problem of doing business and trying to keep guys and pay them off half seasons. Now he's in a bind. He's on the hot seat. That's for sure. Also, Seattle Kraken, Elliot Friedman in his blog, as we documented on ShellRumors.com, Kraken got players that teams are going to want. Jamie Alexiak. You got Jordan Eberle's free agent, Jaden Schwartz, Elvi Tolvanen, Mason Marchment. Do those guys move? You got to expect Marchment goes, expect Alexiak goes. Maybe Eberle stays, maybe Tolvanen stays. We'll see with Schwartz as well. Maybe Jared McCann finally moves as well because they need a hard reset in Seattle. It's going to be interesting to see what else goes down. Now that we got these two big trades out of the way, do a little bit more of the dominoes fall, or is this it? Couple quick ones on a Friday, then we go to the holiday trade freeze. Then things pick up a little bit more as we head into the Olympic break next week. And speaking of the Olympics, man, if you saw the pictures, again, you feel bad for the women who have to take the ice first. The NHLers, that's up in the air. Again, it's on the players. The NHL put it on the players, but the AC unit hasn't been tested. The condenser hasn't been tested. The humidifier hasn't been tested. Under those conditions, nobody knows. And there's supposed to be a test event in about 4 weeks. Not sure if that's going to happen either. Bad contingency plan. The NHL put it on the players because they know it's collectively bargained. But I would expect this, talking with some people, if the NHL decides to go, because there's a lot of disappointment inside the league from Gary Bettman, from Bill Daly and others, that they were conned into this. They didn't want to go to begin with, but come 2030, they want control of the construction of the building, the ice surface, the putting in the ice, having their own people there, because they get nothing out of it. And it's going to be very interesting to see where this relations go between the IOC and the IIHF. The big news of today, Quinn Hughes is a member of the Minnesota Wild. Tristan Jarry is a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. 2 blockbuster trades, even though blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. Here on a Friday, Jim Biringer here, NHLRumors.com. Guys, take care and enjoy.